Welcome everyone to the monthly ANC 1B meeting. We'll begin with our information session. We have Kenny Marble from DDOT to discuss some issues and projects in our area. Kenny, you're limited to 15 minutes for presentation and Q&A.
Thank you, commissioners, for having us. DDOT join you guys here tonight. We're here to talk about the Estuary Revitalization project. We have a short presentation. I'm joined by a few of the project team that's handling the project management of this project for Estuary, Laura Mayhel and Abdullahi Mohammed, among others. So I'll let Laura kick us off into the presentation, and then maybe with the remainder of the time, we'll have some questions, some Q&A.
Okay, thank you. Abdullahi, did you want to say any opening remarks, or do you want me to go ahead and?
Just go ahead, and then I will follow up to close it.
Okay. So just, we're going to have a brief video. You may have seen it on the website or maybe not. It's just got posted yesterday. But just by way of introduction, the video will present basically an update that we created it or crafted it to kind of show people background of the project in case they weren't aware of it, and an update on where we are with studying alternatives to potentially close the section of S Street between New Jersey and Florida, where that, the triangle is, where it's a little bit tight in the, intersections and some safety issues there. Now, we do in this video present an initial recommendation, which will be seeking feedback from the communities that would be impacted by the changes, and obviously the 1B constituents are one of those communities. But we will see an initial recommendation. It's by no means a final recommendation. There are a couple of options for us that we may proceed with once we garner feedback, like I said, from the communities that would be affected, and kind of take that and weigh it and see how that plays into the final decisions. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the video and share my screen. I think I can share my screen, Amanda?
Between 7th Street and Florida Avenue and 6th Street from S Street to Rhode Island Avenue, with intersection modifications along New Jersey Avenue and 5th Street. The goals of the project are to improve safety, especially for non-motorized travel modes, provide obstruction-free pedestrian facilities, discourage speeding, and upgrade deficient features along the roadway. DDOT held a public meeting in January of this year to present a project overview and an existing conditions assessment, and to obtain feedback from the community. The two highest priorities of the community based on comments received are pedestrian safety and modifications to what we are calling the triangle area, which will be defined shortly. The community priorities became major factors in the selection of design solutions by the project team. The triangle area is the section of S Street between New Jersey Avenue and Florida Avenue. This area has safety issues caused by multiple intersections within short distances, blocking turning movements and intersections, creating unsafe pedestrian crossings and gaps in sidewalks and crosswalks. The DDOT team reviewed alternatives which would close S Street in the triangle area to help meet project goals. Alternative 1 was taken from the Mid-City East Livability Study, which required a connection from southbound 4th Street onto westbound Rhode Island Avenue. This was found to be operationally infeasible and was therefore dropped from further consideration. Alternative 2 would still close S Street in the triangle and would convert about 100 feet of 5th Street to one-way southbound, north of Florida Avenue to the alley that enters from the west. Alternative 3 would still close S Street in the triangle and would restripe 5th Street to provide for an additional southbound lane north of Florida Avenue to the alley. The fourth alternative would leave S Street open in the triangle but incorporate a road diet and traffic calming techniques. After extensive study and analysis, the team recommends Alternative 3, which closes S Street in the Triangle and provides for a second southbound lane on 5th Street just north of Florida Avenue. With this closure, about 575 cars in each the AM and PM weekday peak travel hours that typically use S Street in the Triangle today will use alternative routes to reach their destinations. This exhibit depicts the anticipated routes that vehicles will primarily use once S Street is closed. While we acknowledge that the map may appear confusing, we share it to illustrate just a portion of the process used to identify the diversion routes and the impact the new vehicles on these routes would have on traffic congestion. We found that the alternative routes operated acceptably with the diverted traffic. As mentioned, Alternative 3 provides for a second southbound lane on 5th Street just north of Florida Avenue. This will result in the loss of several parking spaces along northbound 5th Street to create the space needed for the modified lane arrangement. In addition, the intersection of Florida Avenue and New Jersey Avenue will be tightened up to shorten the crosswalk and thus improve pedestrian safety. We will now summarize improvements for the rest of S Street. We show in these images the before and after typical sections for the eastern segment of S Street and for 6th Street. The existing pavement median on S Street will be eliminated and the curbs shifted inward to allow for tree planting zones beyond the curb, as shown on the bottom graphic. For the portion of S Street west of 6th Street, the curb lines will not move. However, spot improvements will be made to sidewalks, curbs, plantings, lighting, and other features. Throughout the corridor, the project will include an array of traffic calming and safety-related improvements, such as a potential raised crosswalk at Wilberger Street, curb extensions at the intersections, and a new four-way stop condition at 5th Street. Tree plantings and stormwater management will be included in the project. As mentioned earlier, the curbs will be shifted for portions of the project, which allows for a tree planting space where none exists today. The curb extensions and potentially the tree spaces will also be opportunities for stormwater treatment, some examples of which are shown in these images. S Street after construction will appear similar to this rendered image, which is looking eastward toward 5th Street. This concludes our presentation of the elements of the project concept and preliminary design. Here we show a timeline of the project with efforts to date and the remaining schedule. There is an opportunity to provide comment via the project website. Please visit sstreetnw-revitalization.com, click on the project updates link where you will find a September 2020 update and follow the link to the comment form. For further information, the project contacts are Abdullahi Mohammed, EDOT Project Manager, and Jarrell Johnson of Tina Boyd & Associates, Outreach Coordinator. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, that was a good update. Let's now take a commissioners. Do any questions? Commissioners, any questions?
Just one quick question for me. Did I see correctly on the last slide where it was the project planning timeline is basically from now until a year from now, next fall in 21?
So yeah, that would be the design. The design would take place between now and the end of 2021. And then after that, we would have, at that point, have final plans that would be ready to go to construction as soon as funding would be procured.
Got it. Thank you.
Amanda, if you could, is there another commissioner question?
Yes, just a quick question. in your estimation, what's the prospect of this getting funded? Seems like there could be a lot of potential projects that would be done. Do we think this is likely to be funded?
Right.
Procedural matter,
Abdullahi?
or-
Yeah, thank you for having us. This is Abdullahi. Already the design is funded. Construction, we were expecting to be funded in 2022, but with the current situation, all the project was pushed back. So at this point, we don't know the year, the construction, but we have enough funding to complete the design. We just finished preliminary design up to 30% and the analysis of traffic and the report to make sure that this alternative are feasible and doable without a major impact. The design will be completed next year, 2021, and hopefully condition changes, we will know when the construction funding will be available. But tonight, I cannot tell you exactly when that will be. Thank you.
Amanda, if you could take one community question.
No community questions at this time, but happy to follow up with anything that might come up later in the meeting.
Okay, thanks everyone from
Good, Jen.
VDOT for joining us, and have a safe evening.
Can I
Very
add
much.
one
Thank you.
announcement?
Oh, well, Abdullahi, go ahead.
We heard that from other ANC and the community, they prefer to have a walkthrough. So we are in the process of planning and we will announce it probably at the end of the month. So the community may have face-to-face walk and see what we're doing. But we will,
Socially distant, but yes.
we will update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
We'll now begin our formal meeting, and we'll call the meeting to order. This is the ANC 1B monthly meeting. It's September 3rd. We are meeting virtually. Mr. Secretary, if you will call the roll.
Commissioner Norman,
Here.
Commissioner Orlowski,
Here.
Commissioner Muhammad, Commissioner Muhammad, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Shaya,
Here.
Commissioner Mader,
Present.
Commissioner Turner,
Present.
Commissioner Delaney, present, Commissioner Hudson,
Present.
Commissioner Winston.
Present.
It's a quorum of 8 of 10.
Thank you. Commissioners, before you have an agenda, it was updated earlier today to add 2 items. That also includes a consent agenda that has the August draft meeting minutes and the monthly financial report. The 2 items that were added were a draft surplus resolution for the Reeve Center and a draft letter to DCHA, and more about those during the administrative section. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Is there a second? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Passes. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstention? Thank you. Advocate and Task Force reports, Public Health, Commissioner Norman.
Okay, good evening, everyone. As we know, after every holiday, there's an increase in coronavirus cases. And this will be no different, probably no different coming up as we approach Labor Day. So one of the things that I want to remind people is to wear your mask. And I have seen a lot of people out in the community either without masks or masks that are not worn correctly. Either they have it on as a shin guard over their mouth and not their nose. But this is actually the proper way. I'm going to demonstrate how you should have your mask on in public. Okay, so it should cover your face, on your mouth, your nose, and you should also have some type of goggles or glasses, something for your eye for protection, because the entry points are your mouth, your nose, and your eyes. So you want to make sure that you do a good job in covering those spaces. Also, if you look at the news, you also see information about face shields. Now, if you compare face shields to wearing a face mask, if you have a choice, you should choose the face mask, because if you wear the shield, yes, it covers your face, but virus can get underneath and on the side. So you want to make sure that you wear a mask and you wear it properly. In addition, there was a coronavirus update yesterday evening, and I talked with some folks on the panel, and one of the things that they're going to do for commissioners is pass out masks so we can give it out to the public. They're going to coordinate that with the MOKers, and we will be getting masks that we can hand out to individuals we see in our community who do not wear masks. That's going to help us decrease the number of cases that we have. Sure, our cases are going down, but again, it might go up after the holiday. In addition, as we're getting ready to come into the fall, want to make sure, you might have heard twindemic, that is the coronavirus as well as the flu happening at the same time. So we want to encourage everybody to get their flu shot in addition to wearing your mask. Get a flu shot, get a pneumonia shot, get your shingle shot, get every shot that you can. That's going to help hold down and decrease the spread of this virus. We know also that kids, even though they've gone back to school virtually, they still need to be up to date on their shots. So make sure that you are scheduling your appointments for your children to get vaccinated. And next, after that, this is a stressful time for everybody. So one of the things that we want to recommend, if you're stressed out, is to reach out to some of the government agencies. They're there to help. You can contact the Department of Behavioral Health. They're there to help you. Their number is 888-793-4357. And the last thing that I want to update you all on is the census data collection, which ends December 30th. And the goal is to increase our self-response from 2010, which was a rate of 66%. Our current national average response rate is 65.1, and DC self-response rate right now is 61.5. ANC 1B self-response rate is about 34-36%. There are two areas where it is 44.1 and 44.2 respectively. Enumerators are out in the public going door to door, and they've contacted about 20% of the folks who have been non-responsive to filling out the census. So you still have time to complete the census, and what you can do is go to the Census Bureau. Excuse me. You can go to the Census Bureau at 800-923-8282. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Short-term family housing, Commissioner Mader.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Commissioner Norman, I thought that was your census music playing in the background. There isn't a major update for the short-term family housing project this month. Most of the work is continuing, but we're already on the inside of the building. I would encourage all of the community members that if you have questions in terms of what's going on, or you see something on the building and want to get a little bit more information, please reach out to me at 1b08@anc.dc.gov. Thanks.
Thank you. Education and senior living, Commissioner Shia.
Yes, hello. First of all, I want to say that thanks to Commissioner Turner, we now have these that are available to some people. He designed them. The white ones work better than the black ones. I think there are about 8 of them. So I don't know who's going to hand them out, but if you want one, they're here. I haven't done anything on education. What I really want to do is develop an advocacy for seniors. So I'm trying to put together a sort of plan of addressing the needs in senior needs in 1B. So it's probably going to deal with housing issues, food issues, way to get hold of meals, and health, and also working with the Council on Aging, because I really feel that given all that's going on economically in the district, it might turn out that the Council on Aging is not going to have a lot of money. So a lot of the programs are going to probably be done away with. So at any rate, I wish, if you have any knowledge of seniors in your single member districts, that you would send that to me, in particular buildings, senior housing buildings. I would appreciate that. And that's all I have to say, except I will not be here. I decided not to run for re-election. So December will be my last meeting as the commissioner, but I intend to keep on as an advocate for seniors.
Well, I'm happy that you're going to continue these 2 advocacy roles. Something very important in our ANC. So there's plenty of work to be done.
Okay. And Commissioner Turner, will you take charge of these?
I will take charge of those.
Okay.
I get all the hard tasks.
You do. He successfully printed them mirror image.
Public safety and community engagement. I see the commander is on. He has only a couple of minutes and a couple of announcements to make. So Commander, if you could take a couple of minutes, and then we'll take any questions from commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner Turner. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody for having me here. I just want to start preliminarily with our crime. As we've been continuing to speak at each of our ANC meetings, our crime is continuing to go down, especially in ANC 1B. Specifically, our robberies have reduced almost 50%. Our theft from auto has gone down almost 50%. Where we are seeing an increase, though, and it's almost a 50% increase, is our motor vehicle theft. And once again, as I think we talked about with this ANC last month, it is predominantly vehicles that are being left running unattended, either by delivery drivers going in to pick up meals and bringing them out to their cars, leaving their vehicles running, or residents from our community who are doing the same thing, running in real quick to the ATM or running in real quick to a store to pick up a to-go order. And unfortunately, individuals are jumping in their cars, taking all of them very quickly. Even if you have the key fob in your pocket, if you leave the vehicle running, it can still be driven off. What happens is they just can't restart it later. So they'll drive it for a while and ditch it somewhere, and then we find it, and you're going to get potentially it back. But unfortunately, what we're also seeing a lot of is these vehicles being used in our robberies and our shootings. And in those scenarios, when we do find your car, it's not coming back to you for a long time because we're going to process it for evidence. So it's imperative people remember, please turn your cars off when you're running in and out. It only takes a second or two to start it back up. So it's a lot easier than trying to run 55 miles down the street to catch your car as it speeds off. I do have a couple updates on some recent incidents. We had a shooting earlier this week in the 1400 block of V Street. I believe that's in Commissioner Thomas's area. That case is actively under investigation. A female walking home, vehicle came down the street, started shooting rounds. We don't believe she was an intended target. We think it's possible an individual she was talking to in the block was, but another perfect example of reckless gunfire shooting and injuring somebody who had nothing to do with it. We're hopeful she will make a recovery. Her injuries are non-life threatening, and we are continuing to investigate that. I think since our last meeting, we've had 2 homicides, I believe, one at 6th and T Street. I think that's Commissioner Norman's area, and then one in the 1300 block of Clifton, which was Commissioner Bristol's old area. Both of those are actively under investigation. Both of those incidents we believe our victims were targeted. And both of those, we have recovered some video. We've gotten some witness information. Both are going in a very good direction. I think 6th and T is probably a little bit behind Clifton as far as the progress being made, but in talking to our homicide branch, I think we're definitely moving in good directions with those cases. It's just tying up some ends, getting some information, and continuing to get some tips that we've gotten in those cases. So hopefully those will get us in the right direction. This weekend, I know a lot of people were out and about and saw a lot of the demonstrations that took place in the city. We also saw a lot of ATV activity. I know that that is a major source of frustration for the community, as it is for our officers. We did make an ATV arrest actually this weekend, which I'm happy to say. I know there were probably hundreds out there, so one is just a small drop in the pond. But I will say the importance of this one ATV arrest that we made at 14th and U was we had an officer in that area. ATV pulled up alongside him. For some reason, the driver of the ATV wanted to converse with the officer. He got out of his car and quickly got this individual off the ATV and made an arrest. More concerning to us, though, is that ATV operator had 2 guns on him, one in each pocket. I don't know if he was Wyatt Earp or what he thought he was doing, but he had 2 loaded guns in his pockets. So what his intent was for the rest of the evening, I don't know, but it was it's a perfect example of folks who think that the ATV riding is just harmless. It's just people out just having fun. Well, this is an individual carrying 2 illegal weapons in the city, and only wonder what his intentions were with that. So I'm glad nobody was hurt. The individual arrested was not hurt. The officers were not hurt. Community was not hurt, but we got those 2 guns and that ATV off the street. So I'm happy to say that. The last thing I want to jump on, and I know it's probably one of the most important things on people's minds right now, is the shooting that took place in the 7th District last night, which involved one of our MPD officers over in that area. I know you've seen some of the media coverage. You've seen some of the press releases. As part of the new reform law, Metropolitan Police Department was required to and did today release the body-worn camera footage from it. This investigation is still very much in its infancy, but I will encourage members of the community to watch the body-worn camera for yourself. Video speaks volumes. It gives you an idea of what the officers observe when they arrive on these scenes. It also gives you an idea of what they see, what takes place, and the actions that they did. I will let you make your own decisions at this point because, again, this investigation's in its infancy, but I will caution and I will warn folks, the video it is a tragic video. It's a loss of a life. Regardless of the circumstances around it, any loss of life in our city is a tragedy that we do not thank for that sort of thing. We are just, our thoughts go out to the family of that individual who did lose their life and to the officer who was in that position where he took somebody's life. Those are both families that are going to have to deal with that for probably the rest of their lives. So I do encourage the community to watch those videos and to look at it and form your own opinions. But please understand that this investigation is still in its infancy and is continuing to be ongoing. It will, with consultation from the United States Attorney's Office, along with our Internal Affairs Division, be thoroughly investigated. I think that's pretty much what I've got today, Commissioner Turner. I guess I'll open it for however you want to proceed.
Thank you, Commander. Commissioners, questions?
Yes, Commander Emmerman, do you have any update on the shooting the shots that were fired last night in my SMD?
No, so last night we did receive, shortly after midnight, a little before 1 a.m., we did have officers in the area of LaJoy Park who did hear sounds of gunshots, and our shot spotter did alert to it. It's interestingly, Commissioner, it was reported about 14 to 15, 16 shots. We did not receive any calls yet, at least by the time I left today, for any property damage. We did not receive any calls for any individuals or individuals who were shot at or shot. And when we went back today during the daylight to canvass those areas, we did not find any casings as of yet. So I'm not sure if these shots were fired from within a vehicle. Maybe the casings are in a vehicle that fled the area, or if somebody picked them up and cleaned up last night. Sometimes we've had individuals who will come out and test fire their own guns and then clean up the evidence before we get a chance. So I'm not sure what the circumstances are surrounding it, but our officers were in the area and did hear it. It's just pinpointing where it comes from takes a little bit of the effort, and that's where ShotSpotter helps us out. So I think by the time that they exactly figured out where it was coming from, and we believe it was in that area between you and Elm Street and the 300 blocks, ultimately we did not locate anybody discharging a weapon at that point.
Thank you.
Two questions, Commander Emmerman. First, does the reform law require the other officers' body camera footage to be released? That was unclear.
So my understanding, and I'm not a lawyer, so I wouldn't take mine as the gospel, but my understanding is it's the officers involved. So I believe the understanding is the individual who fires the weapon or has the use of force.
Second question, there was a shooting on the 600 block of Harvard Street on the corner of Harvard and Georgia approximately 3 weeks ago now. The shooting was under an active investigation. I was actually the one who called it in. An individual was shot and taken to the hospital. I was wondering if you have any additional information about that.
I apologize, Commissioner Delaney. I don't in front of me, but I will be happy to pull it for you and shoot you an email. You say it was about 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, three or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
600 block of
Is it Hobart?
Harvard.
Okay, Harvard. I will get that for you, and I'll send you an email on that if that's okay.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And Commander Emmerman, just want to say thanks for all your efforts, especially in the Clifton and 13th investigation. And as you guys are able to identify additional details, if you could also just shoot me an email, that way I can keep the residents informed.
Absolutely. I do know that we have a what we call a bolo. Be on the lookout. I will check and see if we've made that video public. I know our officers are working on that, but I think it went out public on our website. And what I'll do is, Commissioner Mayor, I'll look for that, and if I can find it, I will forward it to you to make sure we can push out to the community as well. Because I know some people are not on our listserv or on our blogs, so if I can have the ANC push that out as well.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commander, and thank you for coming this evening. Let's now go to a recap on the Violence Prevention Forum.
Great. Thanks so much, Commissioner Turner. Amanda and I hosted a panel on violence prevention. We hosted 2 members of the community who spoke about their involvement in violence prevention in the community. One was from ONSE, and the other was from, Amanda, remind me, the
Community Mediation DC.
Community Mediation, yeah. They spoke at length about their involvement in de-escalation activities. The spokesperson from ONES spoke at length about his involvement in ONES and also in programs that help with violence de-escalation. There was a lot of really wonderful back and forth conversation between the community and between the panelists. Amanda, do you want to elaborate at all?
No, just thanks to everyone if you're on the call for joining, if you were able to join. I also just shared the link in the chat. So if you're interested in the conversation that was had, you can listen, and please just share with anyone who might be interested. I think violence prevention in DC is a word that we all use a lot, but we might not understand the full meaning behind. And I think we really dug into it in this forum.
No additional updates from the Public Safety and Community Engagement Committee at this time.
Good. Thank you. Zoning ZPD, Mr. Nelson.
We did have a meeting this month. We had one presentation, but a vote was not taken, and that probably will be reported out next month. So our meeting for September will be on Monday, the 21st.
Thank you. Economic Development Commissioner Hudson.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to, I haven't had my video on, but I got to look at the 3 things that I have that you want me to talk about. Give me just 1 second to pull up the agenda because I've lost it. Okay, so so economic development had its second meeting about the Reimagining U Street project that we're doing with coordination with the Office of Planning from Impaired, coming up with a public life survey. So that survey has been finalized and is in the Office of Planning's hands. And I believe I have not gotten an email back with the link or anything like that. So they're either formatting it or putting it back up, but it was two very productive meetings in 2 weeks that was really helpful with our, that really needed our input on the questions and the priorities about the questions that they would survey in the area. And the Office of Planning and everybody is obviously aware of the pandemic and asking questions about how you use this space and things like that. So everything that's collected in this survey obviously will come with an asterisk. And they did say that, you know, if things lift and they want to do this type of survey after, you know, all of this coronavirus stuff ends, or there's a virus and people get back to normal, then there is a time to review and do it again then. So, so that's the update on that. So DCHA redevelopment. So there are 4 large developments within the ANC. 2 of them are in my district, Rhode Apartments and Kelly Miller. We also are on the border with Bruce Monroe and the Park Morton redevelopment, and also Garfield Terrace. Garfield Terrace, Rhode Apartments, and Kelly Miller are 3 derelict properties that have seemed to have just been forgotten by DCHA. I know that LaDroit and Kelly Miller are under a court agreement with the Office of the Attorney General for DCHA to actually make productive improvements there. And we will get, so they have started that process of converting LaDroit Apartments into more of an owned build. It's hard to explain. It's called a RAD process, and I'm not 100% sure about it, but they are, or sure of the details, but it will convert the building to more of a regular type of development for subsidized housing, as opposed to a city-owned development. This will put it in still in the city's hands, but it will be owned as a private company in some way, that will then, you know, still have the same population, still be in the city's care. It will open them up to a lot more funding streams from HUD. So that's a good development. Unfortunately, the Kelly Miller updates don't seem to be very extensive. Right now, they're really only talking about putting up more floodlights and cameras. And we're looking for a larger redevelopment of this property to serve our neighbors who live there and serve more neighbors who want to live in newly developed properties. So there's a draft letter in the packet. It was just added to the packet that talks about increasing our role on this with DCHA to formalize this working relationship, because they typically do not work with ANCs, but we're intimately involved in these properties, and Garfield Terrace is one of the next ones on the list, and it's one of the larger ones in I think it's probably the largest one in Ward 1, and it's one of the larger ones in the district land-wise, and there's a lot of input that the ANC and the community would like to have on this, along with, of course, the residents there. So you'll see in your packet there's a draft letter that I think I'll need to do a motion on. Is that correct, Chairman?
Correct.
Did you say correct?
That is correct.
Yes. I know Main Streets, Clean Streets, Lower Georgia Avenue, Shaw, 14th Street, and U Street is on this list, but I don't know what I need to talk about here.
Well, it's typically when they are addressed by the people who run those programs.
Oh, okay.
It falls under economic development.
Into that. Okay, that makes more sense. The other thing I want to talk about, there was a surplus hearing for the Reeve Center on Tuesday, where there were no objections to surplusing the property. That is the first step in the redevelopment phase. And at that point, the recommendation will then go to the council to actually surplus it, to put it out essentially on the market, write an RFP for it and everything like that. And the rest, and there's more process that comes after that. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve the the draft letter for DCHA, subject to technical revisions, that would request that we are more involved in the process of these communities, LaDroit, Kelly Miller, and Garfield Terrace within the ANC, and requests for them to come and present on them as soon as possible, the upgrades, so we can all get, you know, more detailed answers to our questions.
Is there a
Second
second?
the motion.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstention? Passes. Thank you.
That's all in my section. Now it's now. I mean, are there? Do you want me to call on the representatives from these
You
groups?
have your surplus. You have your surplus to do.
Oh yes. So there is one more. There's another letter in the draft package. I'm sorry. So there's a resolution in support of the surplusing of the Reeve Center that will be sent to the council, just supporting moving forward in surplusing this to have it developed into a modern building that serves the community, and that's really all. That's the extent to what it is. It talks about you know, honoring the memory and the historic importance of the Reeve Center on the U Street corridor, and supporting the process going forward of remembering that the historic nature of it, but modernizing it at the same point. So I move that we accept this resolution pending technical modifications to send to the council.
Second. Thank you,
Sorry,
Commissioner.
I have maybe a friendly amendment.
Yes.
I would support the motion, but amend the 7th whereas to include a 7th item, which is a space for a green outdoor market.
If we could do that as a technical modification to it.
Okay.
Was that a second to it as well?
Yes.
All those in
I
further
accept the
discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstentions? And many thanks to Commissioner Winston for taking the lead in drafting the surplus resolution. Anything else for economic development?
I just have a quick update from District Bridges, if this is the right time.
Sure.
Great. I'm going to put the link to their report in the chat and just quickly go over. Lower Georgia Ave has been active in technical support for small businesses. So if you know anyone struggling with that or getting their business online, feel free to reach out to Starsha, who is leading that initiative. There's also an opportunity for a $2,000 expense grant that you can apply for with Starsha, and that's specifically for the Lower Georgia Ave. Those are the two big updates there. And then for the U Street Main Streets, we just completed grant review for a specific grant on projects for small businesses that is through Sheikah with the U Street Main Street. And she continues to give updates, so just make sure you are subscribed to their email list if you would like those updates. And let me just see real quick. She's also launching COVID-19 business health checks. So if you know of anyone who's in need of that or in need of that type of support, feel free to reach out, and their information is all on that page that I just sent into the chat. Thank you.
Transportation.
Great, thanks. There was no transportation committee this last month, but I am hopeful that we will have one in September. The date for that will be the 24th, Thursday the 24th at 7 p.m. at the Thurgood Marshall Center, or virtually actually. And I'll respond back to everybody on the website with an update whether or not that meeting will take place or not. Thanks.
Thank you. ABR, Commissioner Orlowski.
Yes, hi. Similar to the Transportation Committee, we did not have a meeting this past month. There hasn't been much activity on the ABR front for a little while, but if we do have a meeting this month, it would be held on the third Wednesday, which is, I believe, the 16th. I will, similar to Commissioner Mader, I'll update committee members and the community on the website if the need arises for a meeting this month.
Thank you. Administrative, we have one item, and that is approval for the FY 2021 budget. It was submitted to you today for review. We just got the template from Executive Director Simon yesterday that is required to be used for them. Unfortunately, I had trouble with their workbook as well. But we do have something for approval. It is basically the same budget as last year. We're just continuing the same budget. We'll make any necessary reprogramming throughout the year if we need to. So with that, I'll, if the treasurer doesn't mind, I'll go ahead and move approval of the proposed budget. And ask for a second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Passes. Thank you. We'll go to updates. Office of the Mayor, Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Have a couple of quick updates. One second. Okay, we have an update from the mayor's office. The National Maternal Infant Health Summit is only a few days away. RSVP at dcmaternalhealth.com. Starts September the 15th through the 18th. Also, the DC Faces Working Group report is out. If you want to learn more, visit mayordc.gov/DC Faces, and you can get more information on the DC Faces Working Group. Also today in 1B12, I joined Jeff McKinney and Commander Emerson on a on a block meeting we had today regarding an individual that's been in the area for 10 years, a homeless individual named Mark Bryant. He's very well known through DBH and DHS. Today we had an engagement with him with the citizens, with the community, MPD, DBH, and DHS. DHS is going to make a random contact within 48 hours to help Mr. Bryant find housing that's adequate, and plus he has mental health issues. So we want to make sure that he gets all the treatment and attention he needs from the city agencies. Also, a lot of illegal dumping has been taking place in 1B in the Lower Park, Estuary Park area, 9th Street area. I'm working with Investigator Inga to try to find a faster way to get those things done once the 311 request has been put in. So hopefully we'll come up with a remedy to get the 311 request for illegal dumping expedited. It causes more problems with rodents, as you know, when those things, bed mattresses and old furniture that stays in the area for a long period of time and harbors a lot of rodent activity. That's about it. Do I have any questions?
Thank you for that update. Office of Councilmember Nadeau, Oscar.
Good evening, everyone. This is council's last week of recess, which means council will resume virtual hearings and roundtables. Committees are beginning to announce hearing dates, so be sure to visit dccouncil.us and check out the calendar for upcoming hearings. We are at the end of council period 23, so we typically see a lot of legislation up for votes. Any legislation introduced in 2019 or 2020 that has not been passed by the council by the end of the year would need to be reintroduced in the next council period. Mail-in ballots, every registered voter will automatically receive a ballot without having to request one. Make sure to check your registered mailing address and update if updated if necessary. You will be able to return the ballot by mail or by dropping it into any of the 50 secure ballot drop boxes that will be placed throughout the city. DCBOE will pick up ballots twice a day. There will be vote centers open on November 3rd. The locations can be found at dcboe.org. There will also be 2 early voting centers in each ward for election week. That will be open for early voting beginning Tuesday, October 27th through Monday, November 2nd. DCBOE is recruiting district residents to serve as election workers for early voting week, starting Tuesday, October 27th through November 2nd, 2020, and November 3rd, 2020 general election. Election workers can earn up to $600 and training will be provided. DCBOE is estimating that they will need 4,000 workers. If you are interested in becoming an election worker, there is an online application on their website. You may also contact call center at 202-741-5283 or electionworker@dcboe.org for more information.
Question for you, Oscar.
Yes.
When can community members expect to be receiving their ballots? I know some folks have already received notice from BOE to let them see ballots or registration location changes. I was wondering if you have any information on when voters can start to expect to see these ballots in their inboxes.
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I can get back to you on that.
Actually, I'll chime in just real quick. I volunteered to be a poll worker, so we had our training the other day, and it will be the first 2 weeks of October. So that is when you can expect it in your mailbox.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda.
Any other questions for Oscar? Okay, Office of the Attorney General, Ms. Davenport.
Good evening, everybody. The U.S. Attorney's Office, we have been doing since the mass shooting in 6D a couple of weeks ago. We have started a series of youth town halls to hear from the youth, to hear some of their concerns and what's going on and what resources they are lacking. And we have got a lot of feedback. So we will be continuing the series starting next Wednesday, every week until October. So if you know any youth that would like to participate, please send me your email so I can keep you updated with the flyers. We also, for Hispanic Heritage Month, we will be hosting an event at our Hate Bias Task Force meeting, as well as something for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are still virtual, and I think that's all we have right now.
Any questions for Ms. Davenport? Commissioners, announcements?
Commissioner Turner, I just have one thing that I wanted to say to everybody. I've gotten a lot of emails, actually, a positive sign of community members wanting to volunteer to be a part of the ANC committees. So I encourage everybody to please go on our website, look at the various subcommittees that we have, and if any one of them is of interest to you, the emails for each committee should be on the website, but you can also reach out to me or the chairs directly. And we'll make sure that you're put in contact with folks and know exactly when everybody's meeting. But again, just encourage everybody to participate and get involved, and really thank those that have shown interest thus far. Thanks.
Thank you. Other announcements?
On Monday, September 14th, the MOCR and I, Mr. Anthony Moore, and along with other DC agencies, DOH, DPW, and DCRA will be walking around through LaDroit Park looking for code violations to follow up on what Mr. Moore talked about earlier to help decrease the rodent activity in LaDroit Park and the trash that has just kind of crept up in the area. People are just dumping stuff. I guess they're home cleaning out their houses, and they're just dumping stuff instead of calling 311. So we will be walking through the area on Monday, September 14th for code violations. And that includes, you know, cutting grass, clutter, and everything that just falls under the umbrella of the DC agencies. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds like a good activity for each SMD.
One announcement from my end. For those of you who were here at our session last month, you may have heard Howard's presentation on their reopening plans. They decided not to reopen the day after they presented those plans. So you may or may not have seen that news, but they will not be reopening for the fall semester.
Okay. We'll now go to community announcements.
Commissioner Turner, can I make one more announcement?
Sure.
This is Rob again. I just want to encourage everybody that while Howard University is closed down, their property is still private property, and they have some very sacred and historic areas on their campus. So they've asked me to continue to remind the community that they would really prefer that no dog walking happen on their private property, and you know, public use of their private property is not something that they encourage or would like to really see while their students are still off campus. So if we could continue to respect their space in the community, that would be great.
And I echo that as well.
Well, let's just make it more clear. People need to stay off of private property if they don't own it, whether it's a church or any establishment.
Yeah, I mean, Howard still has their security guards on staff and things like that. I know that they are loath to raise things to that issue, but I think as we get into the nice fall weather and things like that, there may be more people wanting to use this public space or this private space as public space, and that's not its intention. We have great parks in the area that are public. It's just not Howard University's campus.
Rob, I'm going to make a suggestion that you pass on to the powers that be at Howard, that if that's the rule that they want to enforce, which they have all the right in the world to do, then they need to close all the gates to the main campus so that people don't just walk in there, because they have not put up any signs that say that to anyone. And for them to go through you to make announcements is, once again, they're shirking their own responsibility.
Hey, Patrick, I really appreciate your comments, but I'm making this comment as a commissioner, and it was requested of me to do this. And I support Howard in not completely closing down their campus or going through enforcement measures to do this, because that would create more tension in the community. While I appreciate your comments, I don't think that they're actually appropriate about this issue at this time.
Let's move on. Community announcements. Amanda, if you want to start the community announcement section.
Thank you so much, Chair Turner. We have 2 community announcements tonight, and if anybody is not called, just please chat and we'll make sure that you have time. We have Leah from Decriminalize Nature DC, which I have shared her PDF with you all here, and then I'm sure she will elaborate for our attendees. So Leah, I've just asked you to come on screen, or I can allow you to talk. Let's see. No. Oh. Okay, while we work out some technical difficulties there, we have Nick Daldone. You have 2 minutes to give your updates, Nick, and I have just asked you to come on screen.
There, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can. Thank you.
All right, my name is Nick Deladon, and I represent DuPont East Civic Action Association, which has its boundaries in Ward 1. And I have 3 things to say tonight. Last month, I reported that the encampment of homeless people outside McDonald's and Safeway on 17th Street was removed apparently by vigilantes at the great distress of the homeless people. And we were privileged to have Commander Emmerman from the MPD show up at our DECA membership meeting and report that the investigation is ongoing. They're examining the street cameras for evidence about who might have done it and other clues. And Ward 2 Council Member Brooke Pinto advises us that the city is trying to find vouchers for the homeless people there to get them housed. And the second thing is that DECA is holding a candidates forum for the at-large seats on the council. The event will be September 17. You're invited to participate. We're drawing up questions now. And we think that will be a service to the community. And the third thing is that our flagship campaign to halt the development of the large apartment building behind the Masonic Temple has been filed with the DC Court of Appeals. So we're glad to see that we're making progress with that. And those are the three elements. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks for keeping it quick. Appreciate you being here. Leah, happy you're here tonight and excited to hear what you have to say.
Hi, thanks, Amanda, and thanks to the Commission for giving me a chance to briefly provide some information about Initiative 81. It's on the ballot in the upcoming election, so all DC residents will have the opportunity to weigh in on the initiative. I just wanted to make everyone aware of what the initiative entails. The title is the Entheogenic Plant and Fungus Policy Act of 2020. That's the legislation behind Initiative 81. It would make the investigation and arrest of adults for any infractions involving entheogenic plants and fungi among the lowest law enforcement priorities for Metropolitan Police Department. And it would also codify a non-binding public call to the Attorney General for DC and the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia to cease prosecution of residents of the District of Columbia for these activities. Notably, accepted from this shift in police priorities are any impaired driving laws involving these substances, and it does not apply to minors, of course, under 18 years of age. I just want to briefly talk about what an entheogen is for those who are not familiar. It's a naturally occurring plant or fungi substance that can initiate non-ordinary states of consciousness, which can inspire mental or spiritual growth and healing. The substances covered by this measure include psilocybin and psilocin containing mushrooms, mescaline bearing cacti, dimethyltryptamine containing plants such as ayahuasca and iboga. I'm involved with the campaign and in favor of the measure. It signifies a step in the right direction to ending the war on drugs, which has clearly failed, and signals a new approach, and it would make possible the redirection of public safety resources to strategies that really work instead of locking people up. And also with these particular substances, there is a growing body of evidence from leading medical research institutions, including Johns Hopkins, UCLA, NYU, Imperial College of London, that have demonstrated therapy using these kinds of plants and fungi, otherwise known as psychedelics, are uniquely effective for treating various mental illnesses and comorbid addiction, including depression, anxiety, and also impactful during end-of-life care. And I just want to note that recently the FDA recently granted, twice granted psilocybin mushrooms a breakthrough therapy for treatment-resistant depression. With that, I just want to thank the Commission again for allowing me to share some information about this initiative. I do welcome feedback and discussion on whether the Commission would consider supporting a resolution in favor of this initiative or a letter of support for our work on this initiative. And I should mention I am a 1B resident myself, 1B06. My colleague Nicholas Schiller is also on the call, who is also a 1B resident, also working on the campaign.
Thank you. Amanda?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Any questions from commissioners, or we can go to the next update, and then you'll have time to review the further information from their campaign. But thank you, Leah, so much.
Actually, I have a quick question. Will these psychedelics be administered under a doctor's care?
So that's beyond the scope of what the kind of legislation anyone can propose on a ballot initiative can do due to congressional limitations in the form of the Harris Rider through ballot initiatives, and actually the DC Council cannot change any laws that would actually reduce penalties or otherwise legalize the use of any Schedule I substances, including the ones covered by this initiative. So with this initiative, we're trying to signal to the council and then hopefully to the federal government that DC citizens are ready to change laws with respect to these substances, and hopefully set the stage for the council to pursue a regulatory framework if there is hope, as we all hope, in a change in administration at the federal level.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so next community announcement, we have Alicia Burke. I'm going to promote Alicia now, and look forward to hearing from you. I see you, come on.
All right, yes, can you hear me, Amanda?
Yes, thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my question, and thank you to the commission for the meeting tonight. I'm Alicia Burke with Rich Capital Concepts. We're a nonprofit organization headquartered out of Bloomingdale, Leedroit Park, but we do conduct charitable activities and programs citywide. We have a few updates to our programming in the neighborhood that I would like to cover. Since April, we've been providing emergency food relief activities to the low-income residents of Leedroit Park and also some seniors in Bloomingdale. They have been receiving free fruits and vegetables from our farmers market. So with that food access, we have been informed by residents of a need for food in the community, and that they need the access to the healthy food options. So as we are kind of winding down from some of those food relief activities, we're looking at winter time. If that needs to be expanded. And we know with COVID-19, we see the pressure with food insecurity, not only just in, our vulnerable populations, but also city and nationwide. So just wanted to share that with you all. And also, we are partnered with Mount Pleasant Baptist Church on this initiative to provide to the residents in the neighborhood. But one challenge that we have found is that we need a refrigeration space. So we have partners who provide the produce, non-perishables, like Capital Area Food Bank, some other partners, farms, some local farmers that provide the food. But with the food, it has to be refrigerated. So what we found is that we normally have to give it out immediately after we acquire it, just to make sure that it gets into the hands of the residents as well as into refrigerators. So we're looking in the neighborhood to see if there's any space that we could use for our charity that would have refrigeration space or some type of storage space that we would be able to look at expansion of the food access inside of Leedroit Park, and that would be also healthy food access. So that's actually a good thing for those residents of fresh fruits and vegetables. We also engage, the next thing is we engage with the youth in the neighborhood for our youth development activities. We've been conducting some youth internship programs. We do them every summer with the youth. This summer, we had to dial back from our about 35 youth that we intern. So it's about 6 youth in the neighborhood who are involved in our youth internship programs. They have completed a couple projects that we're working on now that we'll share with you all. One is the Youth Humanities Arts Project. So we were awarded an arts grant to perform arts activities. So we engaged the youth on a community arts project. So they're working on that now. They're shooting the videos for it. Once they get finished with that, we'll present it to the commission, of course, and also we want to look at ways at how can we present this to the community. We know that, you know, it's no really public activities that we can do, but is there a way that maybe we could put a projector up in the neighborhood and maybe it shows, or we can put it also on Zoom, people can watch it virtually as well, but how do we kind of share this media with the neighborhood creatively in light of COVID-19? So I just wanted to run that by the commissions to see if there was any thoughts that you all had about arts and social distancing and any input that you've heard about so far from other groups. And the other thing is with our youth, since they're back into school now, they're going into virtual learning. We also find a need that they are still in need of out of school time activities, such as after school programs or either also some type of training programs. So we are launching a virtual youth training program this winter for youth of the District of Columbia, but we're actually laser focused on the youth right in our area of Lee Park and Bloomingdale. And so with that virtual youth programs, we're also looking at a location space in the area as far as we don't need kids to come in, but is there any way that we could just use for storing our materials, some of the equipment that the instructors would use. And so that's another thing for the youth, but it also coincides with our food access activities. And we have identified some vacant and inoperable buildings in Lee Park and Bloomingdale that we wanted to speak with the commission about to see if we work together to see how we can utilize those spaces for more community focused and improvement activities for our neighborhood. And last update I have is every fall we conduct a Bloomingdale arts festival. It's called the Bloomingdale Historic Preservation Celebration. Normally it's on 2nd and S Street Northwest. We have an arts event. It's like a block party. We have arts table for the kids. Sometimes people come out and sing a song or do a tap dance. Some local artists may come out and do a slight performance. So this year is going to be totally different because of COVID-19. We have received arts support and funding to continue this activity, but virtually. So we're also looking at seeing how do we continue the Bloomingdale Historic Preservation Celebration in a virtual manner. And we have start planning the project, and we've looked at virtual. So how can we also maybe use like a projector to kind of showcase the project, or I know we can't have like a stage out because of the COVID-19, but could we maybe have artists come to somewhere and we just record them, and that is the people just watch it on their cell phones. So is there also ways that we could be creative in light of COVID-19 to keep the arts festival for the neighborhood, as well as commemorate the history and the historical significance of the neighborhood, and also provide that in social distance entertainment for our community. So also looking at, just wanted to bring that to the commission as we're looking at planning on our team and working with the Arts Commission on how any ideas that you all might have.
Thanks,
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you. Perfect. I'll make sure to include everything that is happening on the site. So if anyone has questions about that, we will definitely include in our announcement section on anc1b.org. So thank you.
All right.
Great. And then we have Sylvia from OPC here. So this is our last community announcement, but if anyone has any further questions or comments, happy to take them and follow up with them after the meeting. But Sylvia, thank you so much for being here. You have the floor.
She's still muted.
There we go.
Can you hear me? Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, Chairman Turner, commissioners, and the community. Trust all is well with everyone during these challenging times. I just want to state a gentle reminder that Pepco multi-year rate increase virtual hearing is scheduled for September the 29th at 2 p.m. before the DC Public Service Commission for consideration. For those who wish to testify, they can send an email to the commission at psc-commission-secretary@dc.gov or submit your testimony by email at the same email address and copy to OPC at info@opc-dc.gov. Once more at info@opc-dc.gov before September the 22nd. For those who are unfamiliar with the Pepco multi-year rate increase request, Pepco wants the commission to approve a total of $135.9 million over 3 years. OPC wishes the commission to dismiss or deny Pepco's request due to the following reason. There has been a roller coaster since the beginning of the request. On May 30th, 2019, Pepco requested $162 million at the initial application. September 16, 2019, $160 million during the supplemental testimony. February 20th, 2020, $157.9 million. That was another supplemental testimony before the Public Service Commission. On April 8, 2020, $142.2 million at the rebuttal testimony before the Public Service Commission. And now in June 1st, 2020, $135.9 million. In addition to that, OPC found that it does not place no spending limiting on the company. They're not liable over any surcharges or overspending. During the pandemic, OPC feel that it is poor timing as well to request a rate increase during these emergency times when individuals are hardly able to pay their rent, hardly pay the utilities, and other issues that many communities and families have during this pandemic time. So we hope that the committee will come out and testify on the 29th, whether it's by email or sending a letter of support to OPC stating that they do not want Pepco to increase, the commission to accept Pepco's request to increase their rates. So I'm not sure if the commissioners have any questions or the community regarding this upcoming virtual hearing before the Public Service Commission.
And if there are questions, they can contact you?
Yes, indeed. Yes, at 202-727-3071. Once more, 202-727-3071. Or they can contact us by email through info@opc.dc.gov. Either way.
Great, thank you.
Oh, thanks to you. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
Amanda, are there any other comments?
That concludes our community announcements. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, commissioners, is there any new business to bring before us tonight? Hearing none, we're adjourned until our October virtual meeting. Have a great month.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. Stay healthy.
You too. Be well.